Hello everybody, welcome to an event I am so excited about because I've been thinking about this for a long time. For those of you who don't know me, I am Rosanna Hannis. I'm also known as RozyGlow and I am the founder of RozyGlow. And today's point, the whole reason that we're coming together, is I really wanted to introduce you to the fabulous famalam that are the Fearless coaches and also Fearless graduates. And I say they're Fearless coaches, but they're also RozyGlow coaches. They're multi-dimensional coaches, and all of the clients that have come through our wonderful group and one-to-one coaching programs are also living multi-dimensionally in a world that is going through a huge upgrade. So if you are not yet aware, we have two signature programs, or rather three. One is the Fearless, Loved Up and Free to Be Me program. Another one is, and that is the group program. The one-to-one program is called the Super Conscious Co-Creating Method. And we also have a mind magic program called Liberation from Limitation for all those that are just very much stuck in their monkey mind. But I wanted to create this today to introduce you to my right and left handers, so Augustine and Kate, because we, between the three of us, actually coach the Fearless program now, to let you know more about the Fearless program and to really give you a sense of what is possible when you put you as the center of your world and decide that it's time to upgrade who is driving the vehicle of your life from your ego programming, which is your conditioned self, the you that you've been born into being, the you that you think you are but isn't who you really are, and actually move that aspect of you to the side and put your higher self, your soul consciousness, your heart at the center of running your life. And I've also invited some of our graduates, some of those who are currently in the program as well, to share their experiences so that you can see the value of investing in you as a foundation for absolutely everything else you do. I wish this course was available to everybody. It is my intention in my lifetime to make it available to everyone. But just to sort of get us going, to give you a sense of what we're going to be doing, we're going to keep things moving pretty quickly. We're not going to go into the ins and outs of the course because you can look at all of that on the course page. But what we want to get you very excited about today is booking a call with us so that we can then take the next step with you. For everybody who does have access to this video, who is keen to actually join us for the program, we are going to offer you a free breakthrough call. And normally these calls are £100 because in themselves, they are a big investment in terms of shifting your mindset and seeing where you're getting in the way, or parts of you are getting in the way of what you actually want. But the next step is really to be able to dive deep and do the whole realignment that's going to allow you to put your soul in control, which is what Fearless is all about. And if you're wondering who it's for and why it works for love, for money, for soul purpose, for establishing healthy boundaries, for showing up as your authentic self, and why it's brilliant for creatives and for mums and dads and for those who run businesses, well, we'll explain that as we go forward, because this is the essential reprogramming that everybody needs to do. So without further ado, let's get into this. And once we've gone into the outline briefly of what we do, we're going to then introduce you to some of our clients. You can hear their experiences, and I intend that you'll get really, really clear in your heart about whether you want to be able to go forward with this, whether this is for you or it's not for you. And I will introduce briefly the concept of 3D, 4D and 5D because this course works beautifully, as does the one-to-one work, for those who are on the 3D to 4D bridge and those who are also on the 4D to 5D bridge, which is slightly different. Yes, we're going to go into where we were before as well and where we are now. So thank you, Augustine, for that. All right, so where were we? What has actually happened? Where are we today? Well, we are living in a world today that is going through a huge collective fear detox. You know, at the time that I'm making this video, we're already 2 years in just about to the whole COVID saga. And, you know, those who have a spiritual mindset will say this is now the time of the apocalypse. That's going to scare a lot of people because what we've heard about the apocalypse is it's the end of days, the end of the world. what I want to inspire you to come to see is it's not the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we knew it, the conditioned world, the world where we've been programmed to be compliant so that we can feel safe, where we've been programmed to ask others what we should do rather than trust our own inner authority, and where we've all lived lack, limitation, struggle that has passed from one generation to the next. And what we're actually moving into, the bridge that we're building, is to create something called the New Earth Paradigm, which I see as paradise on earth, when each of us, instead of giving our power away to others, choose to put our soul in control and therefore can trust our own inner authority, and we learn to be conscious co-creators of our reality. This is my joy. This is what I invite people into, and this is what the coaches do with me, because when you realize that you can move out of living like a headless chicken, running around constantly just not knowing what to do, to then being stuck in your mind and always being stuck in your mind, to being able to drop into your heart and let your heart lead you, even if you move through painful experiences, then we end up in a place where this whole life experience is an education of living in a physical reality as a spiritual being, which is what I believe we all are. So what really motivated me to start this journey, I began my life as from a pretty challenging early life, parents who were well-meaning, but basically very emotionally immature. There's a whole load of little traumatic events that occurred in my early childhood that didn't make me feel particularly safe, either with my parents or in the world that I was in. But I was always very inquisitive and curious about what else was out there. There was this general sense of mysticism that I had. And, as a teenager, my friends used to take the mickey out of me because I was into the idea that there may well be life on other planets and that there is consciousness beyond what our five senses actually perceive. But I've come into myself through time, and I was blessed. My late mother, Mary Evans, was actually a Reiki master and a crystal healer and a stress therapist and an EMF specialist. And basically I had my Reiki mastership under my belt by the time I was 27. And I trained very early in my adult life as a yoga teacher, specializing in perinatal yoga, pregnancy yoga. And my sort of first real role, if you like, was to run my own yoga studio in Croydon. And my experience of early influences really has had a huge impact on this course, because, where I was as a person was basically someone that was really strung out, feeling like I was fulfilling my life purpose, but just going round and round in circles, not getting anywhere particularly quickly. But the motivation behind all the work I do actually started with a statement that I came across in a yoga book, and it blew me away, and it's what made me decide to train as a yoga teacher. And that was that as we change our view of the world around us changes. Now, that started the yoga career, but what started my career as a multidimensional success coach was actually, again, another series of challenging events, mainly to do with my daughter, who really was not in a good way when she was in her early teens. And I had to very quickly change my life and move towns in order to be able to support her through the challenges she was going through. And at that point, I'd read a book by Bruce Lipton. So I'd read his first one called The Biology of Belief, that I highly recommend everybody reads if you haven't already. And check him out on YouTube as well. And then I moved on to one called The Honeymoon Effect. And I remember, thank you, that's the one. The Honeymoon Effect was basically the one where I was like, tell me how, I want this is it. And it was through that book and through Bruce Lipton that I found my teacher, Susanna Kennedy, who lives on a paradise island, Kauai, which is one of the small islands off Hawaii. And I trained with her as an emotional mental detox coach. This was when I first started to realize, my friends, that if you don't have a program in you, an early life experience, you haven't seen evidence in your life of something you truly want, you're going to have to borrow it off people who do, whether that's confidence, whether that is happy relationship, whether that is being wealthy and knowing how to do well with money, or feeling a strong sense of career and soul purpose. Like, you can't just bring it in without modeling from someone or aligning with someone's energy who already has it. And this was really when I started to invest in coaches. It was when I moved from Croydon to Brighton and realized that I wanted what this book told me. It was the what, but not the how. And my teacher gave me the how. And I took what she had taught me and I dramatized everything massively because there was no physical element to what she taught me. So this was where Fearless, Loved Up and Free to Be Me was born, because my background as a early years and fertility specialist and early influences specialist and yoga teacher and yoga therapeutics combined with the emotional mental detox led to this very complete program that basically creates the infrastructure and the scaffolding for you to create a new version of yourself, your authentic version of yourself, by creating an outer safety to allow you to do the inner rewiring that will then allow you to show up as your authentic self rather than the you that you've been conditioned to be in order to get the love and the approval that we all need in this world, because we are here, we are not just here to run solo, we're here to be part of communities. But in the world today, there is this concept of everybody sacrificing themselves for the greater good and suppressing what might be right for them for the collective. And I'm going to challenge that and say, you absolutely have to put yourself in the center and look at what is right for you as a way of being able to actually do what's best for the collective. So instead of the greater good, we align with the highest good and the win-win-win in everything. And that is what happens when you put your soul in control. This is where, when you actually look at what I was saying before about third dimension, fourth dimension, and fifth dimension, I'm going to very briefly explain this to you. The world that we know, that is the world that you turn on the television, the radio station, you open a magazine or a newspaper, or you go to any kind of institution, government, school, civil services, you are basically in the matrix. You're in the third dimensional matrix, which is currently struggle focused. It is still running on a patriarchal system, so it's giving power away to others to help us to feel safe. We think we're safe in the structures that occur or that we have around us, but actually they're kind of a bit of an illusion. Now, if you haven't seen the movies The Matrix, I suggest you watch them because they will explain a lot. But this is the program self. This is when you rely on your five senses, on what you were taught as a baby and a child. You don't challenge it, you don't question it. You might rebel completely from it, in which case you're also not living an authentic truth. So you either do as you're told or do the complete opposite, but neither of those are your actual truth. And that is the third dimensional reality, where we don't really question beyond what we've been told. When you move into the fourth dimension, which is essential for you to access 5D, you cannot just go from 3 to 5. You're starting to enter into the realms of, but why? Why are things like this? What else is there beyond this? What is possible that I haven't thought of? And typically, the way I describe this is 3D is your kind of mainstream narrative. And then 4D is opening the can of worms into all the alternative narratives. And if we just looked at COVID and the current situation we're in, you'll know that there's some very different ideas about what's happening in the world today. Everything from religion, Reiki, yoga, crystals, New Age, meditation, those are enough, I would say. Each of those is enough for us to understand that they all operate within the fourth dimension. So they're all still in the realm of the mind. And if you've been someone who's interested in manifesting and basically the law of attraction, this very much operates in the fourth dimension, but it's the higher end of the fourth dimension. And what's important to understand is when we're in that place of, oh, I can have anything I want, let me just focus my attention on getting it. Yes, you can, but perhaps you haven't yet checked in with whether that's a true heart desire, a soul desire, or whether that's actually coming from your programming, your ego, that you think that what you're going to manifest is going to bring you happiness. And this is very, very important, because when I teach co-creating, which is the 5D reality that we're going to come into, we recognize that we can manifest things from active force, which is the masculine element in us, and also from the feminine element, which is a vibrational feeling. One without the other doesn't really work. When we bring the two together, we basically learn to reparent ourselves, which is what all of the RozyGlow courses are about, and to learn to co-create for the highest good of all and the win-win-win. And this is when we surrender all of our desires to the very best. We surrender the outcome, which is very different for a lot of us who are control freaks. And that is how you enter into 5D, because 5D, you move out of the mind. You don't need to understand anymore. Your heart knows. You go from believing to knowing. You understand that your vibration is what you radiate out, and therefore you attract experiences to you that confirm your expectations. And we're all doing that. It's just most of us are confirming our subconscious expectations that are not aligned with our conscious, our super conscious and conscious expectations. And your conscious mind is only in control 5 to 10% of the time. So in every hour, that's 3 to 6 minutes. The rest of the time, your subconscious is in control. Now, if your subconscious is not aligned with your conscious will, and it hasn't been overseen, if you like, by your higher consciousness, your superconscious, you're always going to be misaligned and having small wins, but not big ones. And if you do create something amazing, you're likely to then lose it again, which is how millionaires who, win money through the lottery end up going bankrupt, because they don't have the millionaire mindset that will allow them to keep that vibration of abundance. I could go on and on, but I feel like this is enough of a starting point for everybody. What I will say to you in terms of the outcomes of my life experience is that I have gone from attracting Mr. Unavailable, Mr. Uncommitted, Mr. I'm not that into, to being married to my divine counterpart, Ascension Sacred Union partner, who absolutely blows me away. We got married a year and a half ago, nearly now. And I've had 3 years of pure bliss, 3.5 years. I live in a mortgage-free house now. 5-figure months is standard, moving towards 6 figures. And this is something that I've only just really been able to grasp, that once upon a time I lived on £100 a week. When I ran my yoga business, the money was there. We were turning over, a decent income for a business, but there was never any for me, ever. Right? I was living like a pauper, which is my ancestral lineages. Both sides basically have horror stories around money. So, what you're being invited into here is a clearing of your bloodlines and also your soul memories that brought you here, so that you can activate your soul purpose. So going from being unhappy in love, having no money, thinking that I was fulfilling my soul purpose, but actually working my arse off. So in the end, although I had a business called Enjoy Yoga, there was very little joy in Enjoy Yoga in the end. And ego death means when you allow yourself to surrender one role after another to let a new part of you be born. So now where I find myself is where I'm basically looking at how I can co-create the most graceful, easy, and joyful sharing of my gifts with the world, and to keep up leveling that. So I'm not attached to what I'm doing. I'm interested in the joy I'm creating for myself and those around me, and how quickly we can move through the challenges, integrate what we need to learn, so that we can then be able to stabilize at a new frequency, and from there expand again, stabilize, from there expand again, stabilize, and once we've mastered, we teach others to do the same. So the principles are the same. You get your subconscious cleared, aligned with your conscious will, and you put your superconscious in control, which is your soul, and magic happens. I think that's all I really need to say before I move on to the lovely Augustine and Kate. So these two have been working with me for quite a while now, as we've been basically expanding the team of coaches. So when you actually join us for the group coaching, you're not just getting group coaching, you're actually getting a hybrid course, which involves some individual coaching as well as group coaching, and access to all of us and our expertise. Now, I'm the kind of soul heart element of it, and the pink flame, if you like. Augustine is our mind maverick, and he is the blue flame. No, he's not. He's the yellow. Sorry, the yellow flame. And Kate, as her hair will let you know, is the blue flame. So we have infinite love or sacred love, grace, which is me. We have sacred wisdom, which is Augustine, and we have creative power, which is Kate. So Kate's our kind of grounding. Augustine's our mind maverick, and I'm going to invite both of them to share their stories a bit. So Augustine, where were you at? What would you like to start with here before I ask you questions?
I'm good, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Augustine. I'm one of the coaches at RozyGlow, and I guess before Rosie asks me questions, I have one thing to add on to what Rosie mentioned earlier about what our experience on Earth. Many people think that life is what it is, and we just bump into random situations. But in fact, after the FearLESS journey, I've realized that it's not the way. What actually happened was that from 0 to 7 years old, we were testing our physical boundaries on Earth and developed that security and safety. And from 7 to 14, we go through puberty. We started to understand our sexuality. We understand what we like and what we want to repulse. And that creates the very first emotional blueprint. This is what we used to. And then from 14 to 21 years old, our brains start to develop even more. And then we learn different things on the outside, the negative beliefs or whatever beliefs and conditioning from the society or religious background. It's all stored in the mental body. So when by the age of 21, we move forward in life in order for our whole being, physical, emotional, mental level, to protect the psyche or the legacy of what we believe and what we are used to, we must attract different situations in life to prove our mental body and our emotional body and physical body are right. Otherwise, there's instability. So even those things we attract or the beliefs are not very pleasant, we must attract this situation to prove what we believe inside is correct. So in until like you want, if someone want to try to have a different experience, they try to do things differently on the outside, it's never going to work, because in order to protect what you have in your motherboard, you must attract the same experience. And that was the turning point for me, realizing in order to have different experiences in life, we must change the motherboard, as Rosie mentioned earlier, by reprogramming how we feel, how we think, how we act. That will actually help us to attract different experiences. Yes, that's what I want to add. So, Rosie, ask me anything.
I think I really thank you for saying that, actually, and this is the whole point: is the world will respond to what we expect. So Augustine's got some real expertise under his belt in terms of sort of the sort of later on how we keep creating conditions to try and explain and understand our early conditioning. My expertise is really in the pre-verbal and precognitive, which is our actual conception, our time in the womb, and the first 7 years of life, in particular the first three. So it's worth noting that when you are actually in a place where you are just absorbing the emotions of your mother through her own hormones that are being expressed through her blood, what's happening is you are receiving information about whether the world is safe to be born into or not. And the way your brain develops actually depends on how stressed your mother is and how much of the world seems threatening. But before beliefs and before thoughts come feelings, right? Then we start to attribute beliefs and thought forms and belief patterns to those feelings. And the world is going to keep affirming what we believe until we change our beliefs. So I'm going to make this really clear now. If you want something different in your life, you are going to need to be different. You have to have a different expectation on all levels for you to actually have something different in your life. And that is the reprogramming, as we said, of the motherboard, because the motherboard is basically like being wired to a particular platform, like on a computer. Yeah, like, we have upgrades all the time, right? But what we do is we don't get upgrades. We inherit the motherboard and we inherit the patterning of our previous generations. And I'm not going to get too much into the soul in all of this, but basically it's up to us to upgrade our programming. We have the know-how now to do that. And it's not just the mind. it's not just thoughts that 5 to 10% of the time. It's your energy field, right? It's your expectation of your life. It's your nervous system circuitry. It's a whole load, mind, body, spirit, that has to be done. But let's move on to you, Augustine, and sharing your experience here. Please do unmute yourself. And let's just start with, where were you before you actually started the course? What was going on in your life?
I moved to the UK 2 years ago. I can list out my, like, financially, I remember before booking a breakthrough call, I was earning like 300, 500 pounds per month, living in a shared house, following the same money struggle story as my parents. Life purpose wise, I was really lost. Like, I was thinking, oh, I used to be an art teacher, then maybe I should continue to do some art related stuff. And I was charging, I don't know, like a course, a class will be like 30 pounds, 50 pounds. So life purpose wise, I wasn't fully aligned. I always had that, and like feeling not fulfilled. I don't find the joy doing what I did before. And friendship wise, it didn't exist, because at some point in my life, when I was when I was 15, I think I did a vow. I swore that I'm not going to have any friendship. And so that really happened. I didn't have any friends for a long time. Love wise is actually the main thing that triggered my awakening and made me decide to book the call. I always bump into unavailable people, and I didn't have the confidence or self-esteem at all to remove myself from them. I just keep digging into it. And I was living my family pattern, because my parents, they were never really fully in love with each other at all. So yeah, I was completely following the struggle paradigm.
You were. I remember that you were actually looking for a relationship. You wanted a man to come and save you, really, didn't you? You didn't really want to step fully into your power. And, I remember witnessing you through a few relationships or situations that I was like, really? This isn't aligned with what you want. But it was that sense again of needing something outside of you to make you feel safe. So, what were the key things that shifted? Because we met randomly. You came and joined the RozyGlow tribe and worked closely with me and went through this whole experience. But how has life changed? Tell me, what are the key wins that you've got now?
180% change, or 360 degrees change. So I graduated the course like a year ago. And life purpose wise, I understand my true purpose, what I'm here to do. And also, the form is not important anymore. What important is my purpose here. And what I do now is coaching and supporting people to live in a better reality. And I do this every day. I've expanded so much. It's easy for me to enroll a client, a high ticket clients. Every month I will have like maybe 3 to 4 as well. So financially, I'm very comfortable. I can even live in my own dream house, have lots of plants around me. So completely shifted. I'm no longer living with different housemates, and this only happened within a year. And I came to the UK 2 years ago, starting from scratch.
I remember when you actually finished
Yeah.
FearLESS, you actually had your first 10K month. You went from earning about £800 a month to your first 10K month because your focus was on money. You wanted more money. You wanted to feel safer. And this is this thing we were just talking about, the 4D, 5D bridge, because your will created that, right? Because we still think that the big money is going to make us feel safe. And then we start to bring that money in and we realize the cost of it. We realize where it's really taking us. And as you've learned to trust in the flow of divine prosperity and sustainable wealth, it's less about how much you earn a month and it's much more about the quality of your life, right? And what you're doing day to day, which is very different.
Also how to apply this concept of spirituality into the physical, how I manage my finance as well in a practical world. So very grateful for that. Friendship wise, now I have so many friends. Now I have removed that vow, and all these people here are my lovely friends. I have many other friends. They are not only good friends, they are also colleagues. They're also clients. We are all co-leader, and we are a team, so family. So I'm very grateful for that, really. The quality of friendship is shifted tremendously. Before, the friendship level is very shallow. Now I can feel the deep connection. We are meant to be together to do something good here. Love wise, this first of all is the self-love, self-acceptance, and I take no bullshit from anyone anymore. When I see there's a sign that is not okay, that may be repeating the same pattern, I would just like, oh no, even though I was really massively attracted to, I have the self-esteem to honor myself, and because of that, I'm 200% believe that when my emotional state and my vibration is higher, I will attract someone who matches me in the same level. And I no longer have the want to find a partner because I truly believe he's here.
He's here. Well, my partner's just behind you, helping put the
Hi, Ian.
This is real time, my friend. Just come in. I can never manage to close the lid of our what is it called? Our loft. So he's doing that for me. Thank you very much, darling. And look, the main thing again I've seen with you in terms of this relationship level is how you have reparented yourself. You know, initially you were very in your feminine, you didn't want to own your masculine elements. For a lot of women, we're very in our masculine, like our wounded masculine, not really owning our capacity to co-create from our feminine. And you have done this amazing job of upgrading your inner parents, right? So that your inner child, the creator in you, is actually doing work that it wants to. And it's like, what do we want to create? Let's create that. So life is a joy. Is there anything else? I mean, what would you say to someone who's thinking about booking a call and signing up to this course? What would you say to them?
There's a reason for you to be watching this video right now. So you manifested that because you asked for it. So do book a call because you will discover all your blind spots and what exactly you need to do in order to take a step and change your perception towards the earth, to the world, you know? So it's really important. There's nothing you're gonna lose. There's only gain. And so go for it, I would say. Do not
Won't
hesitate.
regret it.
Yes.
Another thing I just want to say before I introduce Kate, because we can show up quite differently in this world, but we are all what I call awakening starseeds. So the people who are actually attracted to this work, whether you're on the 3D to 4D bridge or the 4D to 5D bridge, so wherever you're kind of growing into, if you like, we recognize we are souls having a physical experience. So I mentioned earlier that one thing that happens for us, typically those who are attracted to this work, and you'll know if you recognize yourself, we come into families that are a lower density than us, right? So they don't really give us the tools we need to progress in life and remember what we came here for. And as a result of that, what ends up happening is we can pick up all sorts of challenging behaviors, dependencies, limiting beliefs early in our life, you know, addictions that can actually make us forget what we came to do. And so that's why it's so important to have the support to remember and to up level your energy as quickly as possible, because it's one thing to clear your bloodlines, which is what we've all come here to do, to progress the bloodlines that we've been born into, because our souls have similar issues to work through as the families we've been born into. That's why we match up. And I do believe we choose our parents, by the way. So whatever your early story is, remember that your soul chose it to activate the lessons that it's come here to learn. One thing's bloodlines. The second thing is actually our soul consciousness. So for us to be able to integrate back into wholeness, into unity consciousness, we have to experience duality. For example, we have to learn what it's like to be a victim, and then also to be the other side of that, to be the persecutor of that victim, before we can integrate those two elements of our being and not be in duality. So this is kind of the game of life, if you like. And our world is in a dual state, you know, good, bad, right, wrong, evil, good, however you want to see it, right? But ultimately, we're moving beyond duality into oneness. And I believe that those of us who are here that remember our soul consciousness are here to help create paradise on earth. This is our mission. So just to introduce Kate, who is Happy Kate of Happy Coulson and has created her own little paradise here on earth in France. I've known Kate for a very long time. We trained in Anusara yoga together. Anusara means to flow with grace, by the way. Back in 2009, 2010, we co-created the Rozy and Kate pre and postnatal DVDs together. And we both birth light trained. So she's got some really good background similar to me. Kate, over to you. What would you like to share, my dear?
Well, as you say, I had already a good background in yoga before I did the FearLESS coaching last year. And for about 20 years, I had been learning physical tools. And when you do a teacher training in yoga, you really do the work yourself. So it's like we did 2 hours of Anusara teacher training, then went on to do some therapeutic teacher training. And then I've gone into forest yoga, which is created by Anna Forrest. And it's much more about the sort of the emotional trauma and how physical yoga can help with that. So I had already branded myself Happy Kate, living at Happy Coulson. We had, in 2012, my husband and I brought our 2 small children to the southwest of France, where we still are, for a big adventure. And so I already was practicing a lot of what you learn on this course. I was already practicing creating my own happiness. I knew that it was a discipline, that it was something that I was responsible for. I'm just going to go in, Rozy, to what the reasons why I did the course. First of all, I contracted Lyme disease, and that's really what pushed me to invest in myself, because before I would only ever invest in training. I would never do a yoga workshop or a yoga retreat that was just for me. It wasn't that I didn't think I deserved it, I just didn't think I needed it. And I would only spend money if I knew that money was going to earn me money by using what I've learned on the course to create classes and teach people. What Lyme disease taught me and continues to teach me is that there is no one more important than yourself. It's the principle of being on an aeroplane and you're told to put your own oxygen mask on before you even help your precious child, because if you haven't done that for yourself, you can't help anyone else. So it's really that concept of looking after yourself. So what I joined FearLESS for, I came back to Rozy. I'd seen Rozy. We hadn't been in close contact since I moved to France, but I'd seen a lot of what she was doing. And what I wanted was a full mind, body, spirit detox. I felt I needed to just reset everything back to 0 point. And I was just attracted instantly to the FearLESS course, despite it being then, and sometimes still now, a bit too woo-woo for me. I'm definitely the grounder. I am the creator. I'll pull you guys back down to earth with a bump. And on the other end of that is I was willing to be more open to the fact that I didn't have to do it all myself. You know, I achieved everything I wanted to achieve. I was super happy. I brought in, you know, my partner, my children, my dream job, my dream house. I brought in all that myself, and that was like a badge of honor. And what Lyme disease helped me understand, and still does, is that you can force through and you can struggle, but you're really missing a trick if you don't accept that actually we have everything that we need already. And if you can just clear the pathway and step into the flow and open to receive, then it's just like infinite blessings every single day. And you don't have to be a fan of the woo-woo. And some of this is still over my head, and my logical brain, which likes to understand, doesn't understand it. But what I love about the FearLESS course is that that is not a prerequisite. You don't have to be into crystals. You don't have to understand how the moon works. You know, you don't have to understand all these extra amazing tools. You just have to be open, and you have to be humble, and you have to let go of the shit story, you know, the things that you were that you learned even before you were born, the things that your parents tell you are right, and you kind of grow up believing they're right because you're told, and you're told in school. And we all know that the education systems in the world, everywhere, and I've experienced England and France, they're all kind of the same. They're all very traditional. I personally believe that most of the people are doing their best with what they have because they haven't done the FearLESS course. If everybody could do the FearLESS course. So I was attracted to it for a mind, body, spirit detox. I'd had some trauma in my early years, which I had used my yoga training to deal with, and I was doing really well. But I'd kind of lost my mojo. I'd lost my sparkle. I was totally happy, really, really 100% happy. But Lyme disease made me realize that there was just something that wasn't in flow, and everything is connected. So even though it manifests as a physical disease, there's, all of the other elements. So I did the training in COVID year in 2020. And COVID year, personally, for me, I was incredibly lucky living in rural France. It was a blessing for me. It gave me more time with my teenage children, more time with my husband. My husband created a yoga studio for me. And crucially, at the same time, I did the FearLESS training. In fact, it was just as lockdown hit here, and it gave me time to go into this. I am someone who is very reluctant to spend money, especially on myself. I will never do that. And yet, when I spoke with Rozy, I trusted my heart, which said, do this. And I paid up like that. And Rozy knows me really well, and she was expecting me to put up a fight. And she was like, what? You're committing, you're paying up front? And I did. And it's the best thing I ever did. And it's why I'm now training as a coach. And the key gains for me, I mean, where do you want me to begin? I could write a book. We are going to write a book, to be fair, about the key gains. But so Lyme disease is gone. What else? I broke my leg 4 months ago, and the tools that I had to get me through that, from being someone who had primarily physical tools, I couldn't do anything physical. I couldn't even stand for at least 2.5 months. The tools I have now to get me through anything. Last week with the full moon in the eclipse corridor, I had a serious purging of deep, deep grief. The tools that I have learned, and I'm still learning and practicing on the FearLESS course, have just helped me through it. And the change is, it's actually indescribable. But if I had to sum it up, and I have tried, I would say that I live struggle free. If there is a struggle, I know that it's not the right thing, it's not the right moment, it's not the right time. And the tools that FearLESS gives you are tools for life. And there's a chance after FearLESS to go into the Rise group, which is a community which Augustine has mentioned, where you meet these creatures who could be all scattered across the whole earth, who are sharing what you're sharing and going through it, and you're sharing your tools and reminding each other when you forget them, which you absolutely do, and fall flat on your face. But the FearLESS course helps you get through things gracefully and easily. And the impact on the people around you, that is something that's super important, because my family trauma, through the work that I've done on myself and through FearLESS, it's rippled out to all of them. To my husband of 28 years, he is a changed man because of the work that I've done. He believes fully in me. He believes fully in Rozy. And that's like a proper northern man, a hard-assed, proper northern man. So if FearLESS can get through to him, FearLESS can get through to anyone. So my reservations were around money and the kind of not understanding about 5D and all this speak about star family and, crystals and even, essential oils used to make me go, oh, really? But being open to receive means, it doesn't mean that you have to believe it all. It doesn't mean that you have to practice any of it. It just helps you be open to the resources that are available, from the source of all that is, which is this universal energy, breath, God, call it what you like, and the earth, which is blooming amazing. This earth planet, this star on which we live, is incredible. So if you take the time to drop what you think is right, and Augustine said this, we're conditioned to be right, you know, and get defensive. You know, I never ever get defensive now. I just don't get defensive. It's a waste of my energy. And FearLESS has helped me just drop the struggle paradigm. Just stop carrying all the shit that's not mine to carry. I'm not, if someone wants to have a go at me, I don't even notice it really. In fact, nobody ever does, because you know, you attract what you put out. And that's another thing that FearLESS teaches you. The best advice that I could give to somebody is, if you can afford to do it, if you can afford to borrow safely to do it, if you can afford to have a payment plan, which we offer, do it. If you're willing to invest in a nice car, why aren't you willing to invest the same in your one vehicle that gets you through your one life? If you're not prepared to invest in you being the best you through your whole life, what else is there, quite frankly? Anyway, I will leave it there.
Kate, thank you so much for that beautiful summary, and thank you for kind of bringing in that analogy, because, you know, if our boiler's broken, we find the money, right? Our boiler's our heart, my friends. You know, if we haven't got our hearts activated, we are living a shelf life. We're living a 10 to 30% of what we're capable of. When you learn to be a co-creator of your reality, you can create anything you want. And what Kate has actually expressed is she created a lot from her masculine, from her efforting, from over-efforting, which is exactly what I did for 15 years until I learned to do less and receive more. And this is huge, because so many of us are rescuers. We love being givers, but we don't like being takers. And just think about it for a moment. And I have to thank Marissa Peer for this quote. You can't just breathe out without breathing in, right? So you've got to learn to receive if you want to give more. So Kate, thank you so much for that. And we will kind of go into objections a bit later, but just want to honor those who've joined us today. So we have obviously Kate and Augustine, who you will meet if you do the group coaching. If you do one-to-one, as I said, it's called the Super Conscious Co-Creating Method, and you work with me currently, although I do outsource to specific beings who do specific things if required, and Augustine is one of them. But what I'll say is the 6 steps of the Super Conscious Co-Creating Method are covered in the group coaching. We have that totally in our minds in the structure of the course. And I believe now, I mean, what I've got here is I've got 2 ladies. I've got Sarah and Genevieve, who both graduated a while ago. Jen, I think, before Sarah, and then Nix actually graduated very recently. And I've got some lovely little testimonials from those who are currently on the program. But who wants to go next? Who feels up for bravely going in? Yeah, Jen's up for it. Great. So we'll just go into those questions again, and you can let everybody know. Thank you, lovely Kate. Hello, Genevieve.
Hello. How would you like me to start?
Well, you just tell us, where was life at before you actually joined FearLESS? Where was it at? What was going on for you?
I'll go in. I think one thing for me, I've picked up on what other people have said, and what Augustine said, something really resonated with me about that belief that everything happens for a reason. That was something I think I did have and have had all my life, but before doing FearLESS, I didn't have the tools or the mindset to see how to utilize that and align with it successfully. So that was just something I kind of picked up from Augustine. So I did FearLESS, I think it started in February 2019, and we graduated in the June. So at that point, I think 2018 was probably what I would still call the worst year of my life. And having left my partner, and me and my 18-month-old son, I don't want to cry.
Bless you. You know what? I'm sure it's earlier than that, because 2018 was when me and Ian got together. That was
it was yeah, it was no, it was 2019. You had just got together. You were like, it was still
early days.
Yeah, it was still early days but I'd been doing yoga with you for longer than that, and
Right.
workshops and things for longer. So at that point, yeah, my son had a complex medical condition and we were dealing with that, and we just had a year of just craziness and stress, and I'd left my partner and moved back in with my parents, and I think, as a lot of new mums feel, I felt very lost. I felt like I'd lost my identity. I was kind of stripped of anything that was mine. Moving back in with my parents, I was like, focus is on him. I have no luxuries. I didn't even have a wardrobe. My clothes were in boxes under my bed. It was, you know, just, I didn't need anything. He needed everything. It was completely stripped down. And at the same time as that, I was heartbroken having come out of the relationship. I was still traumatized by birth and everything that had come before in my younger years. And I felt quite desperate and living in a state of stress and like automated response and needing control of everything. And I always see everything very visually, and I felt like I was in a very deep dark cloud, and I had very negative thoughts all the time. So that was fun. And the only thing I knew at that point, my need for change, was that I didn't want that version of me to be the person my son would see and learn from as he grew up. Like that was the important thing for me.
If I just interject quickly, I remember you had a real shell on you, and I remember that there was almost this sense of spitting venom. Do you know what I mean? You had this amazing, you've got an amazing way with words anyway, but I remember you wanting to open up, and this often is the case with lots of people, is their soul says yes, but their human self is still really conditioned and resistant. And that's why often you'll hear your mind might be saying, no, what about this, what about that? But your heart's saying, do it, and you'll find the way. And, you know, I know you kind of, your focus so had to be on your son, and it's like you had to go right back to your life of being with your parents. It's like, what's happened to my life, right? It's that adult moment when you're like, this isn't the way it was meant to be. And so many people wake up at that point. But let's move into how your life has actually changed since then, because witnessing you has been one of my greatest joys, I have to say. It's such a joy. Go on.
What have I've sort of written everything down a little bit. So I think just quickly, one of the first things that happened during FearLESS, one of the first sort of breakthroughs I had, was a reframing of this belief that I was alone and unsupported. I really remember this vividly, because I think it was the very first thing that I learned, to see the support I had around me and trust it and believe in it and be grateful for it. And not long after that, while we were actually in the FearLESS course, a series of things happened, including getting kind of diagnosis for my son and all these things that happened that I don't believe. I believe that I got all of that stuff happened at that time because I'd gone through that learning of being able to create support. So I was able to ask for help, which I wasn't able to do before that. I was able to see the support around me, and I understood the importance of creating a safe space to process pain as well, which I didn't know before. And I think I would have gone into an even more like automated trauma response in living my life. But I think, yeah, where we're at now, my God, things are so different. We now live in our own beautiful home. My son is settled into school. He's happy and he's thriving. I live every day doing the things that I love. I live a life that I love. I'm creative, I treat myself, but it doesn't even, I just live my life doing things for myself. I listen to myself, I give my body what it needs, I have a safe space that I live in and that I can go out in the world in. I'm healthy, I don't worry about money. We have enough money, more than enough, to thrive. I have found and I'm pursuing my purpose in life, and retraining to do something I love. I feel fully supported. I think Augustine said as well about that there's having friendships, but then there's having deep connections. So I now have beautiful, loving, deep connections with friends and people who make me feel good. And I didn't have that before. I had friendships that did not make me feel good. And now, even with some of those same friends, we've created a situation, you know, a connection that is lifting for both of us. And I'm in a position where I'm ready to welcome a loving relationship as well.
Yeah.
Yay! I wrote a poem maybe a week ago. I think it was, yeah, along in that wonderful week that I had a couple of weeks ago. Would you like me to read it?
Go for it. Yeah, read it out. Read it out on super speed if you can. I'm just aware of everyone's beautiful stories coming. Go for it.
I keep adding to what I want to say. It's getting longer and longer. The poem goes, something shifted, something real this time, something deep down inside. A me that I knew a long time before, the one who closed her eyes and danced and flew and more. She came back, and as she did, I flowed. All of the debris of what was before gone. A new me grew from the seeds I had sowed. Something shifted, something I can't quite believe. Something I'm looking for is gone. Each morning I wake up waiting for the cloud to come, but every morning only the rising of the sun. So I'll bless my expansion, show gratitude for this shift, and keep noticing my thoughts, reactions, and vibrations lift. Is this what it feels like to love yourself?
Oh, boom. Yes, it is. That's called Fearless, Loved Up and Free to Be Me. And I'm so excited you're open to love, because I think love is a real reason people come into this. You know, some people specifically come in because they're like, I want to attract my sacred union partner. And actually, as Augustine already said, the journey is to loving yourself first, because you cannot have a healthy relationship with another person if you don't have one with yourself. And we all hear, you've just got to love yourself. But what the frig does that mean? And that's the process that we go through of what it actually means to love yourself. And you're doing it. I mean, your whole energy is totally different. And you know, when we talked what I said earlier in this session about the world's going through a massive fear detox, the more of us are walking this earth, aware of our soul light, bringing it to the earth, living in this higher frequency, everyone around us gets lifted up. And that's the fastest way we can do it. And your whole story with your son, I mean, I don't think we've gone into it enough, but, you know, just to summarize, you could have had so many battles on your hands, and you have had, but what you've done is you've actually seen the opportunity to be a world bridger, and to start to create solutions where you see problems. You know, you've had to deal a lot with, you know, the medical world and their conditioning and their way. And, you know, there's been some real tough things we've seen you go through, and kind of like, it's been an honor to be with you. And that makes me teary, because like seeing how you're, as a mum, how you've been through so much. You talked about your trauma as a baby and whatever you've been through, but what your son's been through and what you've been through, and clearing all of that as well. Only the love of a mother. He's a very, very lucky boy to have you. And I know he brings all the sunshine in the world to you as well, and to us, the rainbow, in fact. So
yeah, absolutely.
thank you so much, and can't wait to hear about this lobster in your life now, because I know it's just around the corner, and you're ready. You are so ready. So, you know, how long does it take? Some people meet their person just as they're on the course, which happened for our lovely Sandy. Others just at the end of the course, which happened for Nix. Others come in not sure whether they should leave their partners or stay, and we say don't do anything till you finish the course. Others massively up level their relationship, as Kate has done with her husband of many years, and others have come through a broken space and needing to rebuild themselves, as you have, and as Cherie has, and so many others. So thank you. Right, who feels up for going next? Just wiggle your fingers and we'll deal with it. So we've got Sarah and Nix, and Sarah's also graduated a little while ago. Now, what I would say, because I do, love being a very important element, money, career, soul purpose, they're all different things that bring us through. Sarah is obviously in the feminine form of her body, but she was very used to, like Genevieve, like myself, like Kate, and like Nix, to operating from our masculine and even manifesting from our masculine. So I'm just going to hand straight over to you. Oh, last question, actually. Sorry, before we do that, what would you say to someone who's thinking about booking a call or doing the course, Jen? What would be your line to them?
Let me do this in a nutshell. Okay, so same as Kate, although you were my yoga teacher, at the beginning I was like, whoa, this is very woo-woo. I didn't understand most of the stuff written in the course content. There were words I'd never seen. I had no understanding of what the process would involve. Speaking to my family and friends would have not helped because they are all very, very cynical. And I was afraid because it was so unknown to me. What I did was speak to two people who had already done the course, who I knew, and I knew had a similar perspective of the world as me. So I was able to talk to them from a logical point of view and understand where they were before and where they got to after. That really helped me. I think the biggest thing was booking the breakthrough call was terrifying. I was so scared. I was shaking going on to that call and I had no idea what to expect. But like I said at the beginning, I believe that everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why I was living in Croydon. There was a reason why I went to your yoga classes. There was a reason why I met the people who were able to show me a different path and a way to get through where I was. And what else? Like, what else was there at that point? It had to be, something had to dramatically change. So I dived in, and the breakthrough call itself, in terms of like money to pay for FearLESS, because I feel like that is not just not just the biggest barrier, but also what people will use as, oh, I can't do it because I can't afford it. Okay, so you'll purposefully not find the way that you can afford it. As soon as I got off the breakthrough call, I instantly saw a way that I could easily afford it. I was able to borrow it against the flat that we were going to be selling. So it really actually didn't, it wasn't, in terms of that pot of money, it was a tiny amount that was going to come out from a pot of money later down the line. So it was really easy and obvious. Just do it.
Just do it. Just
do it. And the friendships we have now from doing it, like this, it's incredible.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that. It's really helpful. Thank you. All right, Sarah, over to you, my dearest. You're on. So let's go straight in. I'm going to call a 5-minute if we can, so we can get Nix as well. And just speak quickly, darling, but give your passion in. That's all good. Where were you at before you started the course?
I was living a very mundane existence, really. I wasn't living my life. I was a suburban housewife, half-hearted businesswoman. Everything was great on paper, but deep down I was so sad, so depressed, so anxious, just lost. And I turned 40 and something happened and I tuned into my higher self, and my life has not been the same since. And during that process, I was seeing my therapist, and who was actually a FearLESS graduate. And I had seen, before I had my moment of realization that I was not happy, she'd done a wonderful testimony on Facebook for FearLESS. And she herself had gone through a divorce and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'd seen, I'd never actually done any of Rozy's yoga, but I knew of Rozy doing some amazing pregnancy yoga and stuff. And, you know, so I knew of Rozy, but I didn't know about the RozyGlow world. And I just these seeds were planted, and they all kind of started to take root. So I turned 40 at the beginning of May. By the middle of May, my world was completely upside down. I was in, I don't know where I was, but it's really weird, because when you asked us to do this, I'm like, who was that woman back then? It's so different. But basically, I just felt really lost and alone, and I thought I needed to do something. I needed to do something drastic, and I knew that I hadn't actually done any self-development investment in myself for a good decade, which I knew, as having my own business, was, you know, really bad practice. What was I doing? And I could write this off as a business expense because it would have a ripple-on effect. And that's what I did. I zoned in and was like, actually, I think this could be the thing for me. So I was like, book a breakthrough call, of which I did. And an hour or so later, I was like, yeah, let's find the money, let's sign up. So that was May 2019. I signed up, started June 2019, graduated October 2019. And since then, it's been an absolute, I want to say roller coaster, but it's been a very undulating and graceful roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
There have been moments that have been so easy. I look back and go, how the hell did I get through such a challenging time? You know, filled with such grace and ease. And then there's other times when I think, oh my God, that felt so difficult. But actually, in hindsight, you look back and go, you have this whole plethora of tools now, i.e. lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, because that was literally to have this almost like capsule of, you know, God sent information and tools just to be able to get me through such a really difficult and challenging time. The upshot of my realizations at turning 40 was actually my marriage was over. And I have now spent the last 2.5 years consciously uncoupling, co-parenting, imminently now nearly finalizing the divorce, and manifesting my own home, soon to be mortgage free, which I'm in the process of finishing refurbishing, rebranding, relaunching my business, and yeah, just peeling off the most. It's like I was an onion, and I just continually unpeeled these. Actually, no, I walked the dog and I thought, oh, what is this a version of? And do you know what it is? It's like we're Russian dolls. You know those Russian dolls, okay? So I was so out of touch with all my inner child stuff. And I've been on a huge journey dealing with all that, which FearLESS has hugely helped with as well. And so I was that Russian doll with like those, I'm going to call it, say, 7 layers. And then everyone just saw the outer doll. And then all the other ones in the middle were just like mushed around, and maybe someone would get a different version of me. And now I'm just this outer version and this inner version that are aligned. And you get what you see. There's no pretense, there's no BS. I'm living an integral, authentic life that I'm actually really loving. And I'm really excited about the future. I'm really excited about 2022. I've been able to challenge myself physically, mentally, emotionally. I've challenged doctors and consultants, because during this process I was also diagnosed with my 3rd chronic health condition. I've actually undergone 2 operations in this time as well. And yeah, it's been a huge journey. And people talking about the ripple effects. My ex is actually quite a decent chap now. He is having his own awakenings, not obviously as much as I would have hoped, but you know, he's going on his little journey, which is lovely to see. My son, we had a conversation the other day, and at some point in the conversation, the word command came up, and he came up with, an accidental alignment with my divine, and he just literally blurred this all out, and I just sat there and was just laughing, going, they understand, they know all this because they hear it, and they do. And yeah, it's really amazing. What was my other points? Oh, I invested in myself. I was really focused on rebranding my business because I just had a block with my business, and I thought it was my name, it was my married name, and now I've completely played with that. I've got a new name for it, but it's actually morphing even more now, and I'm loving that. And the fact that nothing feels like it's written in stone anymore. Everything feels it's really transmutable, for want of a better phrase, and everything is very pliable. And even if I start to go possibly down a road where I'm not too necessarily sure if that's the right way, I can always go, actually, no, I'm going to go right here now. This isn't feeling graceful and easy or as in line and in tune as what I feel it should. I'm going to step to the right, and here we go down this path now. And I suppose it's this inner confidence, this inner knowing, it's being in touch with the inner you that I had put all these layers over. Oh my God. And I have had a lot of fun, and it has obviously been quite good times destroying those, and you know, the just letting yourself go really, and yeah, having a lot of faith in yourself. And I always thought I was a confident person before, but actually, yeah, no, I'm fearless now, and I'm brave, and I am courageous, and I love that.
You so are, and we call it fearless, right? We're not going, you're not going to ever feel fear, because it's about using it as a catalytic force for good, right? But what I've really seen in you, and I want to honor in you, is your energy was, and this was similar to me, was a lot more frantic and manic before, and you can really see this integrated wholeness in you and that sense of worth. And if you join our course, or when you join our course, you'll hear about these things called the rainbow gems. And what our lovely Sarah is responsible for is the bullshit barriers and the fuck off fences, because that is a huge element of what we basically work with, is respecting ourselves, which you do so beautifully. And I think, you know, what I want to highlight for you, everybody that we've invited to speak now is from COVID onwards rather than people before, because the time that we get most scared is when it looks like there's instability in the world around us. But if there is ever a time to invest in yourself, it is during this, because everybody made more money than they did before, even though this was a time that apparently was really awful for everybody. If you didn't have the tools, it was a disaster. But for everybody who was in the space with us and was actually working it, we were all finding our opportunities through it, weren't we? And you've manifested an amazing car, you've, you know, or co-created, I should say, you know, you like you say, you're going to be mortgage free, you're establishing your like future life, so you're not going to be run ragged your whole life, you're ready for a whole load of things to change. But the start of it, you were still trying to save this marriage, you wanted to believe it was possible. And that's why we say give it everything, change you first, and then you'll know whether it's really, if you can keep a relationship going and it's going to ultimately fulfill you, great. If not, it's going to give you the tools to up level, right?
Totally. And actually having to be locked down with my ex was a huge catalyst for us having to have a friendship then that worked and functioned, which has actually been very key during, you know, separating and divorcing. And yeah, it's really lovely, and I'm able to honor him and reflect to him when he shows areas of progress which I wouldn't have been able to do before. And I'm very much able to hold so much space for my son, as obviously he's feeling the effects of this. And also we're able to observe kind of growth within ourselves as a family, which is lovely. So yeah, it has some really great ripple effects. And also obviously my parents as well, because I had quite not a strained relationship, but it wasn't straightforward, you know. I'm sure anyone that ever has a really straightforward relationship with their parents, but it was always really challenging, and my mum's health is really bad, and you know, just having to deal with things like that.
You created a new pattern for you, and I think anyone who's a parent, especially when we're going, well, any kind of trauma, we don't want our children to take it on. If we're going through divorce, separation, challenging times, whatever life throws at us, you want to know that you're giving your children the best possible tools and skill set in life to thrive, right? Yeah. So what would you say to someone who's ready to book a call and wants to do the course, but is like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to face this? Because you've all mentioned, you know, money is the biggest reason we will say, oh no, I can't. And
but the money thing is the bullshit barrier. Let's be honest. It's the bullshit barrier. Just call it out for what it is. It's just an excuse. Oh, I can't afford it this month. I'll wait till the next, whatever. You know, if you're going to keep doing that, but then you still find 100 quid to buy the boots or whatever it is you need to just reprioritize yourself and focus on yourself and where you're at and what you want to achieve. Because what also, this is actually really key, because when I started the Fearless journey, I expected that when I graduated, I would literally almost kind of in like a Wizard of Oz sort of way, there'd be some big ribbon and bow and, you know, glitzy heels, and I'd tap them and boom, poof, everything's fantastic. And it is, but it's an internal fantastic. And it takes a long time for you to realize this whole 3D, 5D bridge malarkey, that actually the reality is where you're at takes a longer time than you anticipate to manifest in our 3D world and what else is going on around us. But it does start to happen. And I think the Fearless journey is a very deep one, and it's a beautiful one, and we all deserve that, and we all deserve that. And it should be available on the NHS, but that's a whole other issue. And the whole aspect and the whole idea is that you come out of it and graduate and go, right, here I am, boof, here's my new life. Sometimes boof, things happen, but also then there's sometimes things that you just have to just step back a bit and just sit back and be comfortable with that receiving and learning to receive. And for me, learning to not meddle and do my things with, and actually, okay, what do I want to see? And if I want to see something, I know that I will see it. It may not be straight away or exactly how I envisage it, but it will happen. And it's letting go of the how and just focusing on what you want, because half the crap that's going on in this world at the moment, none of us could ever have even, you know, envisaged 2 years ago, let alone 18 months ago, or, you know, just the way it's all unfolding. And to be able to go through the COVID journey with the Rise Tribe support was just priceless. And that's what I think people need to understand. It's not just this investment that you're making for the here and now for the next 3-4 months as you go and do your work. This is your foundation layer. This is what you're building on. And you will continue to do that, because if you're going to be part of the Rise group, you're going to grow, you're going to thrive, and there's going to be new things out there. And it also means that you're going to be open to new things, which can only be a good thing, because so many of us are closed off. And actually, yeah, your blinkers come off and you go, oh wow, look at that. And you know, and you find tribe, and you know, you're able to share stuff with people you never thought you'd be able to. You know, you struggle to share with, you know, people who you should be able to necessarily share with, but aren't necessarily on your wavelength, so to speak. But you know, it just gives you a lot more courage and a lot more self-belief, which can obviously only be a really good thing.
Sarah, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think this is the key, is that the foundation is the course, and then it's the maintenance. And the thing that I see as the secret source to my success, if you like, and what I see time and time again with my clients, is there's all sorts of magic bullet quick fixes out there, but it's the maintenance that's so important. It's about being able to hold a vibration before you've seen evidence of the fact that things have changed. It's believe it before you see it. It's the opposite of what we've been conditioned to believe. And, you know, if you are into science and proving everything, remember that, you know, science is going through a huge revolution as well. And Bruce Lipton's work is really worth checking out, because our perception of what of the world around us will determine our sort of immune system and genetic expression and so on and so forth. So we're living a very subjective existence. And, you know, putting the Fearless hat on allows all sorts of possibilities to become probable in your life. So thank you, Sarah. I'm going to move into next now, and this will be our last sort of client testimonial, if you like. Now, what I just want to say is, up to this point so far, you know, people came through recommendations. They knew someone who'd done the course, and it was like, oh, I want her changes or his changes. I want some of what they've got. People have seen me and how I changed, and then seen those who were the original adopters of this method. But like, you know, I get a lot of yes, no, yeses as well. And Nyx was definitely a yes, no, yes, because she did not come from a recommendation. She came from a funnel, you know, which was a complete stranger, weren't you, Nyx? So it's like, you didn't know me from Adam or Eve or Lilith. And you kind of did say, yes, you wanted to do it at the end of the call, and then your mind got in the way, and it was like, oh no, I'll go and do a professional training first because then I can make some money, and then I'll do this personal training. And I was like, no. So before I even offer you that space to really be heard, like, one thing people know about me is I'm a bullshit detector, right? That is what I do. That is what Kate does. That is what Augustine does. They do it a bit nicer than me sometimes. But ultimately it's like, what you're saying and what you're doing and not aligned, love. It's not going to happen for you unless you make that shift. So over to you, lovely Nyx. I know you've written loads of notes. Where were you at when just before you started the program? What made you say yes? Where are you now?
I think it's like the definition of insanity, repeating the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I'm like, something's got to change. And I remember clearly sitting in the spot on the sofa, fed up with yet another text or something from someone. And I was just like fed up of attracting the wrong guy, just dressed up in a different outfit. And I was like, something has to change, and something clicked. And then I saw your little promo, or whatever it was that came up, and I watched to the end, and I was like, yes, I need to work with her. And then obviously there was that reservation of spending the money, which was my safety net for my daughter and I, obviously, because I'd split from her father. So, you know, I think after having spoken to you once or twice on the phone, it was a case of, but that can be replaced. So I was like, yeah, let's just do it. So I think once the initial, fear of, I'm investing so much money, this is the most I'd invested in myself, you know, what's life going to be like at the end of this, you know, not knowing what to expect at the end of it. And then I think feeling overwhelmed to begin with, thinking, oh my God, what have I signed myself up for? And then kind of, I think just sort of getting into the course content of it and really just enjoying it. And I had to laugh just now when I heard Sarah say the word command came up with her ex, and sort of playing on the mat after, you know, sort of doing weeks and like a few months of the course, playing with my daughter and just saying anchor, lock and seal. So I'm like, oh, you're incorporating this into your little, you know, life system of enjoying this moment together, and a few other things she's literally recited word for word. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's what you're going through.
And that is so important, because as you upgrade, your children upgrade. And anyone who's got children under the age of 7, you literally clear their subconscious of the early stuff. So they download the new program right from the start of their lives. Their expectation when they're that young, because you've embedded it in them, is what your now expectations are. Like, that's how it changes. It's just done. Tell us what your key wins are, because you've like, Nyx has literally just graduated, literally a couple of months ago, like a few months ago. But like, what happened for you is you had career goals. It was love that was really the big thing for you, right? And like, you didn't like some of the things I asked you to do, like come off the dating apps for a couple of weeks and things like that. Throwing our toys out the pram. Do we all have to do that at some point, my friends? I think everybody does. Do you want to just tell everyone, like, you know, you've got like because what Nyx is, the type of person Nyx is she due diligent effort. You went right into all of the tools, you utilized them, you made it work for you rather than resist it. And others do resist it, but you were kind of like, it works whether you resist it or not, but you were like, let me lunch out on this, right? So tell us.
So what are the outcomes? Basically manifesting my gingerbread man exactly wanted at the end of the day. Pretty much almost everything I wrote down, I have to be careful because he's sitting over there. I don't want it to go to his head too much. But yeah, I think kind of for me, it was, I had my career goals. Obviously, COVID had turned my whole life upside down, and I'd gone from being this super independent woman living in a house on my own with my child to having to share with a friend, and just all these wrong men trying to sort of drag me down, or sort of, you know, not having boundaries or like healthy boundaries, and realizing I had a wounded inner child that needed lots of love and healing for me to then attract in what I really wanted. And then I think as a result of that, you know, everything started shifting and changing, seeing the shift in my daughter, finding the new job that I wanted. That's more of a challenge that excites me. I'm passionate about it, and, you know, taking me up to what I was on before COVID. And then after 2 weeks of
Wait, pause. You doubled your income, right?
Yeah.
Right? She doubled her income at the end of the course because she started again going for jobs that she knew she was worth that money, right? So you did that, and then within 2 weeks of going into a new job, what happened?
I was offered more money to go in for an extra day, and I already work full time. I just only go into the office 2 days a week, so for more money. And they said, "Can you come in 3?" I'm like, "Hell yes, I'll have me some of that." But yeah, I think sort of doing all the inner work, I've sort of recognized my worth. I've been learning to receive, sort of getting out of my masculine. Like you were saying earlier on with the analogy, you can't just breathe out without breathing in. So I had to learn to sort of take a step back, sort of allow things to integrate and enjoy life and have fun, and allow things to sort of come to me, sort of being more of my feminine. And then sort of in that process, realizing how I'd managed to use all the tools to help me. Obviously, there were a few that really stuck out and really got me through a lot of the challenges I kind of didn't want to see at the time, like throwing my toys out the cot when you said to me, take a break from dating and men. And I was like, are you mad?
It's only 2 weeks, guys. Only 2 weeks.
But yeah, I think it was actually realizing that letting go and saying no to all these people, all the things that started popping up and showing up, and, you know, for me to realize, oh, actually these people's words and actions don't align, and I'm just wasting my time and energy on things that are not going to get me any further forward in achieving what I want.
But you were so good at convincing yourself. I mean, we went through a lot of ups and downs on this journey, right? And it was like the inner child in you so wanted to believe that the person that was saying the right words actually was the person that was going to deliver. But what we kept seeing is words and actions were not lining up in these guys, right? Their actions did not meet. And you know your early life experience, you know why that is. But also your child, your daughter was reflecting to you your inner neediness, if you like. And I don't say that in a bad way. We all have it, but like the need for nurturing and to be held and to be loved and to not have to figure it all out on your own and just to let it be. And how you could like look at the mirror that was your child to reflect back to your own needs, to then give to yourself what you need that was then helping her to feel safer. Your lives have changed so much. What I've seen, your spiritual capacity, because you know this lady here has got her own little method that we're introducing as part of our course as well, and that's sort of how to use app dates, you know, dating apps, etc., in a conscious way. And you came up with all of that while you're on the course, which is great. But like you stopped saying yes to the bullshit, basically, right?
Correct. I think, yeah, I didn't realize how self-absorbed I had been since I split from my ex. I've always my daughter's always been first, but I didn't realize until I took a step back how I wasn't meeting my own inner child's needs by, you know, certain things that were popping up, like with her behaviors and things that was basically being mirrored back to me. I needed to sort of deal with or heal first for things to change. So yeah, that was a big, not slap in the face, but a wake-up call. And I realized, I was looking for the things outside of me rather than creating that safety or that sacred inner space for me to grow and to change, and then sort of seeing how she's blossomed and thriving as a child, and the things and the conversations we have and talk about. And she's just a completely different person. She's intelligent as she is, like on her own, but she's just changed in such a way. I'm like, wow, I sit there in awe of her some days and how she's changed. But yeah, I think life has done a 360 in terms of where I was at and how I was doing things from a place of struggle, and sort of no longer needing that external validation or listening to the opinion of others, and just doing what I want to do on my own, and getting the results I wanted, sort of in a much more graceful and easier way.
Well, you just, you're preparing to move, homes, to move towns. Things that were just like absolute no's before have become open opportunities, right? Your Mr. Wonderful has showed up, and because of all the Mr. Wrongs, he's right. And this is exactly what happened to me. It was instant. I knew the man that I'm now married to, my beloved, was the one, because everything was right about it that was wrong in the past. And that's the value of experience. But watching you, you're someone who kind of cashed in very quickly after the course. For others, as Sarah said, it can take a bit longer, and it's like trusting that time of being in the void. We all sort of co-create at different times that outer reality shift. But the key thing that you did that I really want to highlight is, as you say, you saw your relationship with your daughter as a reflection of your inner child, and you, instead of looking for others to validate you, you started to validate yourself, to really hold that vibration, to use that force you had, that masculine, drive in you, to work for you rather than against you, and to allow someone else to have your back. Which, for those of us who are strong, independent women, we have in the back of our heads this idea that we've got to do everything on our own. We've got to be the one that gets all the money together for the house or the mortgage or the this or the that. We don't believe it's safe to join with another. And actually, only when you really trust yourself, when you're not afraid of pain, you will feel happiness. When you're not afraid of failure, you will succeed. And it's being able to go into that, which you did so beautifully. So what would you say to someone who's thinking about it, who's a complete stranger to RozyGlow, hasn't got a clue who I am? This is the first time they're seeing everything. What would you say to them about booking a call and actually saying yes to paying for the course?
Just do it. It's probably the best thing you will ever do. It's having the tools, the resources, the support, everything you need in one place to sort of help you make those shifts and leaps and see the results in your life. Coming from, like Rosie said, not having anyone there to sort of speak to. Augustine was the reason I joined. I don't know, something about you and your story and where you'd gone from and where you are kind of was like, right, I want what he's got. But it did help. I had no one else there to sort of say, you're going to get value for your money. I think it's worth the weight in gold and then some. You had someone talk you out of it, actually. I remember we had a yes, and then you had someone basically go, oh, that's a bit expensive. Oh, I wouldn't do that. You could do this instead. Do you remember? And it's like someone you really respected as well as a spiritual teacher. So friends and others will reflect our doubts, won't they? But you still, you were willing to let me call you out on that and go, actually, why wouldn't I? But that's what I needed. Somebody like you that was able to sort of call me out, but pointed out, in the way I needed to hear it. And I was like, okay, right, you've got a point. I'm done.
I am loving, aren't I? I am loving about it.
You're good at what you do. Very, very good at what you do.
I'm just excited. I think everyone here is basically some form of, you're all growing into the team in ways or shapes or forms. And I feel like one thing to sort of own here is that we haven't really heard from the creatives. We've got loads of people who are like designers, or in the creative world, that fear, artists, for example, that fear really step into earning their income from their love. And you're still in the business world to a degree and doing very well in it, but you are also you're going to be establishing yourself as a coach and doing other things as well, and kind of developing other strings to your bow. But you had to let go of a load of stuff that was actually draining you as well, because there were nice ideas but not really very fruitful for you. And I think we all end up with that. So knowing what to cull and what to actually energize is important. For those of you who are creatives that are like, well, how do I do this? One, you can put it through your business. That's really important. And that's exactly what I did. I was able to justify investing in myself because I knew it would help my business to grow. So any self-development like this, mindset shifting. I was actually listening to a panel discussion, some very, very successful business women talking about their success, and they were saying, the one thing we all make the mistake of doing is trying to get more training without shifting our mindset and learning that this inner foundational self journey is so important. And the experts in RozyGlow really get early conditioning from our conception, if not even before our conception, through to those first 7 years, and then early adulthood as well. Because neuroplasticity means we're not really like set until I think we're about 25. 35, yeah, and then it depends on whether you're going to develop yourself more as well. So we are all co-creators of our reality. We're not set except to the vibration of higher self consciousness. And I'm going to wrap it up because otherwise this is going to be incredibly long, but my intention is everybody who actually takes the time to listen and watch this sees themselves in everyone here, and knows that when you actually do the foundational piece, it affects every area of your life. So whatever your motivation for coming forward is, you can't help but get back, not just what you invest, but so much more. All the tools are available for life. Like whatever upgrades we go through, you will always have access to the tools. Rise as a peer support group post the training is very different level of sort of affordability, and it's very accessible. And this is where you'll recognize, you'll probably see all these beautiful beings as well in there. But like we continue to grow, and the world needs all of us to show up and shine today. Like we need to be the best version of ourselves. All of us deserve everything we desire. We are worthy of, and we deserve everything we desire. But we have all this gunk that says we're not. And until we clear it and call it whenever we see it, one of the steps we kind of go through is blind spot discovery and fine tuning, which is after we've gone through the subconscious detox, which is after we've got clear on our intentions, which is after we've put our soul in control. So there's this whole process that we as coaches know what we're doing again and again, and can see whatever is happening in someone's life. We can go back and go, oh, they're here right now. This is what's happening in this situation. This is what's happening in this situation. And whereas initially, for any of you who do this journey, will be like, what's going on? You've got to lose yourself to find yourself. Okay, that's the point. You can't operate as old you and get new things. So you're going to come into a birth canal, right? You're going to come into a space where what isn't truly you is going to be squeezed out of you, and what is you is going to be born into you fully, and it's yours for life. And we teach you how to work with the tools that we're guiding you through, so that by the end of it, you know how to navigate through uncharted territory. If you ever get lost, you know how to find yourself again. Well, you're always there, but you know how to find your way again, and to celebrate breakdowns as breakthroughs, regression as progression. Like everything that you think is not right is actually, you turn your head around it, and it totally changes what your perception is of success. Because success is not about how much money you got in the bank. Money helps, and we're all for being abundant and prosperous. But what we learn on this journey is we have access to anything we could possibly want. We just have to line up with it. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. It's not about I can't, it's how can I? And anybody who watches this video and decides they are really serious about wanting to do this course, we're going to offer you a free breakthrough call, okay? But you need to book that breakthrough call within 48 hours of watching this video. So that's the deal, that's the clock. You book your breakthrough call, we'll give you a discount code, and then it's a free code, and then you join us. And of course, then you're ready to look at how you can make it happen, because we will help you. We will help you find the way, because when you decide there is a way, there is a way. And I had to borrow from an ex-boyfriend. There's all sorts of things that I did to make things possible for the start of my journey. Do I regret any of it? No. Totally changed my relationship with money, with everything, as did everyone else here. So thank you, and may you be inspired and know that things can be so different, and you are needed in this world right now to show up as your higher self so you can thrive and help us to build a new earth paradigm. We're all doing it together. Lots and lots of love. Thanks, everybody.